Hello, I am Fred.
And I'm Linda.
With New Venture, New Day, with another Westward Ho travel update this morning from beautiful Kanab, Utah on a gorgeous sunny morning. The temperatures are just perfect.
Beautiful.
Kanab, Utah. We were here 5 nights and 4 days. What did you think?
It was great. We had a wonderful time here.
Yep. And we picked this spot because it is centrally located. We spent the first 2 days, the first day going to Zion National Park, the second day going to the north rim of the Grand Canyon, and then we wondered what would we do here for 2 days, and what happened?
We found lots of things to fill it.
Lots of things to fill it, and we're going to share with you in this video some of the highlights of being in Kanab, Utah on your westward travels and going to see some of the sights around here. A lot of great highlights and some great tips for you. So what do you think?
I think it's time to
Let's get started. After our first 2 days in Kanab, going to Zion National Park and north rim of the Grand Canyon, we finally have a day to relax here and walk around and check out the town. It's a very clean, modern, busy place. While we could have stayed right at Zion National Park, or we could have stayed right at the north rim of the Grand Canyon, those places are quite a bit more expensive than staying in Kanab, and we decided that since we'd have to drive to those places anyway, Kanab is kind of centrally located and there are other things to do right in the Kanab area, so we situated our stay here for a few days while we hit all of those sites. Right along Highway 89A. A lot of restaurants and stores, museum. We're going to check it out. Excellent grocery shopping here, both at Glazer's and Honey's Market. We've been able to find everything we need. Modern self-checkout here at Glazer's. Pretty convenient, just a couple blocks from the hotel. Kanab is noteworthy for its involvement in the Hollywood Western industry. A lot of things were filmed here. And all along this street, across from the visitor center we stopped at when we first got to town, placards showing a little bit of a story about each of the actors that appeared in movies and television shows in the Kanab area. Very interesting to read them all, and for those of us who grew up on TV and movie westerns, these are familiar faces and familiar names. This guy in particular, John Daner, watched him many times on Gunsmoke. And one of my all-time Gunsmoke favorites, Morgan Woodward. Kanab is clearly a place that thrives on the tourist industry with its location close to so many attractions, national parks. After a walk of a few blocks and a couple successful stops at a couple of outfitter stores, we are going to check out the Little Hollywood Museum. My particular quest is finding more information about possible locations in this area where the outlaw Josie Wales was filmed. Probably my favorite western outside of The Searchers with John Wayne. Let's give it a look. There's a restaurant and a store here, and after getting situated, we headed into the backyard. And here we are in what is labeled as the outlaw Josie Wales homestead set. Nestled in with buildings from other movies and TV shows. Well, there are a couple of windows with the crosses in them, like you saw in the movie. The building was open, so we went inside and posted on the door, sure enough.
Oh, sure.
A little bit of a description.
Oh, yeah.
This was the homestead set. Walking through, it was really kind of deja vu, because after watching the movie, and then I went back and watched that couple of the scenes inside the cabin again. Very familiar. Except I don't see any rocks in the background. The structure is made of fiberglass and was actually transported from a nearby filming location up against the rocks. And a little later in this video, we will pay a visit to that spot and see where that cabin was sitting. We continued our stroll through the various buildings assembled there that came from different movies and TV shows. And this building was used on the set for a movie called One Little Indian with James Garner, and then moved here. Another building I need to look for when I watch the movie again. And this set was from one of the shorter Western movies ever made. So although it doesn't appear to be an actual Western set here, it does have an assortment of things brought in from other Western sets. It's kind of interesting to see. I'm going to go in and ask some questions about where the filming locations might have been for Outlaw Josey Wales. The Kanab Museum, formerly the town library. Strolling around in here, one can see quickly that a lot of time and effort went into assembling the various artifacts and information that's presented here. Excellent representation of the history of not only Kanab, but the surrounding area and the events that took place when Utah was settled back in the late 1800s. While at the Kanab Museum, the person there answering questions recommended we walk a few blocks over to the Heritage House, another historic landmark in Kanab. Free museums. We're going to check it out. Beautiful lawn, beautiful building. We were told they were in the middle of a tour and we would have to wait till about 2, which was almost 45 minutes. So we're on our way back to the hotel with a stop at the grocery store on the way. I just checked the weather. It's only 93 degrees, 10% humidity, so it only feels like 88. Beautiful day with just a little breeze. Tonight we opted to eat at the restaurant and we picked Escobar's here in Kanab, recommended on the internet and by the hotel we're staying at. Looks good, and I had one small taste. It tastes good. We'll let you know. We're eating outside on their patio area. The inside is air conditioned, but it is jam-packed, very popular place. And it is only 91 degrees now, and 85 degrees is what it feels like. The chicken enchiladas are excellent. We were told by one of the staff that his grandparents started this restaurant originally in Mexico, had a couple other locations in the United States after that, and this is the remaining Escobar's in operation here in Kanab. The next morning we made the Heritage House Museum our first stop of the day. We wanted to be on the first tour, so we were there ready to go. We were greeted by a very knowledgeable person who had migrated to the Kanab area several years ago and gotten involved with the history group there. Led us on a very informative tour talking about the history of the house and the things that are in it. And then later gave me the opportunity to walk through on my own and get some additional video footage of the house in detail. Fascinating story about why the house was built, how it was built, and how it changed hands, and then finally was picked up by the history group and restored to its original condition. A lot of the furniture is not original, but very similar and from that same period. The story of the materials and craftsmanship that went into building this house are interesting in and of themselves. Very beautiful, very well done, and a very expensive home in its time. The people who curate this museum are very enthusiastic and committed to making it an accurate representation of the era. That was fun. A walk through the Heritage House here in Kanab.
That was.
A lot of very, very interesting information about the background here and the people that settled here and the development of the town.
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest that anyone that comes here to Kanab for a couple of days take a little time to take a tour of the place. It was also suggested that we visit the Best Friends Animal Sanctuary about 7 miles north of Kanab on 89A. It's a beautiful setting located on acres and acres of land. Large animals, small animals are kept here for adoption. Beautiful facility. We took a walk through, read some of the information, talked to some of the volunteers there. There's a nice store there where purchases help fund and support the animal sanctuary. We had to stop by the cats. We were missing our cat at home. So we pet some of these cats and this goofy guy here. A little more look at the store. And then we headed back out to hit the trail. We are taking a drive on the unpaved road leading from the animal shelter up past a couple of filming locations. I just took a walk down into a now washed out trail I could go partway on to take a look at the filming site for part of Outlaw Josie Wales. There are times when you can drive this trail with the right kind of vehicle. Wouldn't recommend it with a car. And you get down below and there's a dry riverbed. Sometimes it's full if there's a big storm. And that's pretty rough, and right now that's all closed. So I took a walk down, and in front of me was the area that the cabin, I'm told, was situated for the movie Outlaw Josie Wales, and at the time the stream was full when that was filmed. We've got a couple of other movie sites coming up here we're going to take a look at, so be prepared to take a dusty drive if you want to head up here and take a look. Right now we are approaching the large barn, an area where the horses and other large livestock animals are kept. The road continues on through some very beautiful and somewhat familiar scenery. We had to stop and just take a look. Right here is the barn that Disney built for the movie One Little Indian with James Garner and Jodie Foster for a couple of the names that were in that movie. Here is their huge pet cemetery, Angels Rest Cemetery. We are approaching Ambush Pass. This was used in movies to film when the robbers would come down and rob the stage. So we'll have to look for that in a couple of old movies. Do a search for movies where Ambush Pass was used. This is rugged road. You'll want all-wheel drive and something versatile to get up here. Don't do it on a rainy day. You'll be in the mud. We've left the gravel section and have driven by now on blacktop. Some more of the facilities they have here, animal clinic and different places for different types of animals and a cafe turn off. We are now headed to the north entrance on Highway 89 where we can head back to Kanab. This is quite a facility, and today they noted that animal adoptions are being sponsored by Walmart, and other companies sponsor animal adoptions periodically. So this is quite a well-known place, very reputable. Good place to come if you're looking for a pet. The next thing we're going to check out is a museum recommended to us by the gentleman in the Visitor Center in Kanab, about 9 miles east of town on 89, called the Once Upon a Time in America Museum, and we're going to see what sorts of things they have in here. We were greeted pleasantly and given an overview of the museum, places to go, the order to walk through it, and things to be looking for. We started our tour walking past a display, very interesting figurines and trains, and then it's amazing the variety of things we saw walking through here related to movies, sports, railroads, any number of things, a variety of things to look at, and that made this museum very, very interesting. Some old historic artifacts, some very recent things, a very good picture of American history, Americana past and present. A couple of genres featured prominently in the museum were movies and music. A lot of stuff related to both of those, including some signed posters and even some signed guitars. And some of the costumes worn and things, like the coat worn in Colombo. Another cool feature were the QR codes you could scan in order to get a very detailed story of what you were looking at on the wall, like this example here. In every room there were a lot of things to look at and a lot of information to read and find out about the artifacts, large and small, sitting in these rooms. Here's a display of some interesting hats worn in the movies, and a roulette table used in another movie, and a humorous little aside here with the typical animals playing cards. And then there was the stuffed animal display next to it. Further down on the opposite wall were some representations of buildings in an old west town, church, stores, bar, typical things, a stagecoach. And then there were the cars. Lots and lots of classic cars to look at. We spent a lot of time in here. Cars we were familiar with as teenagers, the old muscle cars, something you don't see much interest in anymore with younger people, but they sure were an important part of our life when we were younger. And some really interesting cars besides the muscle cars, and some more sports memorabilia. It was really impressive to see all of this pulled together under basically one roof. A lot to see here. I would recommend, if you get a chance, to stop in there and give it a look. And I even got to catch up with a couple of my favorites, Outlaw Josie Wales and Gunsmoke. I've seen all 635 episodes. Finally, on the way out, a look at the gift shop with a lot of interesting things to see there as well. That wraps up our 4-day, 5-night visit to Kanab. We planned on staying that long to give a little break in our trip so we could get some rest, and we certainly enjoyed doing that. We saw a lot here and would like to stop there again. On day 19, it's simply a drive to Salt Lake City, so we're going to skip that video. The next video will be day 20, our experiences in Salt Lake City, Utah. Be sure to click like and subscribe to our channel so you're notified when that video comes out. Until next time, enjoy your travels and take care.